Hey, so I just want to show a little bit of my game dev process using Godot and Claude. I'm a Claude native, web native, and using Godot. So I don't even use the Godot editor. I use everything in my terminal. Um, I just want to show you like an example of how I do things. So I've built benches for every type of thing. So I have a lot of procedural generation. Actually, it's like a core working with AI thing is I personally don't want to sculpt any levels until the very, very end. So everything is done procedurally, and then you know, I improve the procedural generation, and then later on I can improve the baking process, right? So I'm sorry, later on I can bake it and then sculpt the bake stuff when I'm ready to like finalize the game. But so what I have here is just like a little test scene for my dungeons, and they're all procedurally generated. So I'm just flipping through some of the different views we have. Uh, I guess a lot of this is like pretty broken. Um, yeah. So, but that's like me flipping through some dungeons, and then I have this biome editor that I can flip through. And again, everything being procedural, I can say, well, like let's just go look through the biomes, and then I'll show you how we actually like edit the procedural algorithms and add assets and things like that. It's very simple actually. So like here is this is the biome I'm working on the most right now, is the forest biome. So we basically procedurally generate a forest biome. We have a grassland biome. I haven't worked on this one at all. So you can see it's procedurally generating, et cetera, et cetera. So we got all these different crappy biomes, and then the forest one that I'm focused on. Um, and so basically, what I do is I look at this and I look at my concept art, and I say, okay, well, I need more assets, and then I'll ask Claude. I'll say like, what's the delta between this, um, you know, so I'll say like, I'll do a slash procedural generation, which uses a skill that's focused on procedural generation, and I'll say, um, yeah, what's the delta between the concept art, and then I'll drop in the concept art image and this current forest biome, right? And so then I'll basically either screenshot the forest biome, I'll say run the biome bench forest. Um, I can screenshot it, or Claude can actually go in and run the bench itself. It can open it up, take a screenshot, and then basically it's going to be diffing, uh, the current image and the concept art image, and it's basically going to say, okay, well, I found these holes. There's not enough verticality. There's not enough water sources. There's not enough moisture mapping. Blah blah blah. It'll come up with some ideas like that. It'll say you need to work on your, like right now. Just looking at this, I need to work on my, my forest floor. Right. More textures, more varied, forest floor textures. I don't like this grass texture. I've got to get rid of it. And need some more, work on the terrain, which actually in my game is a different bench itself, is the actual terrain for biomes. Um, but basically, it'll come up with a bunch of possibilities, and then you can say like, yeah, let's go take on that first possibility. So let's improve the textures, right? So like, um, you would just go in here and say like, let's improve the textures, and you might then go in and find a texture pack and drop it in. Now, whenever I drop in an asset, I have an asset optimization pipeline that actually is automatically run by Claude. So my Claude files define, hey, whenever you put an asset into the game, you have to run the asset pipeline on that file. So that's where I do my 3D model optimization, and texture optimization and things like that. But I basically, since Claude knows to do that, I can just drop an asset in and then ask Claude later, like, did you optimize that new asset? Right? You gotta make sure it does. And I also have like build gates that like detect if there's unoptimized assets in my thing, which Claude is very good at building. So yeah, I can basically drop in an asset, say use this. It'll automatically run it through the pipeline, optimize it, and then it'll algorithmically insert it into the procedural generation algorithm. So not only do I have like forest, benches, but I have terrain. So, we can also do a slash procedural generation and talk about terrain. So one of my favorite queries for Claude is, what's the difference? Kind of lie and say, we're building a AAA game. What's the difference between our procedural generation algorithm and a typical, and you might give it a name of an example game or something like that. What's the difference between our ProcGen and Breath of the Wild in regards to our terrain? And it's crazy. I learned so much by asking that question because that this is the importance of having Claude skills, because when you have a Claude skill that really knows a lot of the details about how good games are made, it can tell you, well, you don't have a hydrology system, you don't have a geology system. You need to start modeling the moisture. You need to, start modeling biomes. Actually, as if, you're thinking of, well, is this is a forest because it's a lush area, or this is a desert because it's in the rain shadow of a mountain. That kind of like dynamic biome definition is part of a AAA procedural generation process. And we're basically able to learn these really good game development principles step by step by just asking, what is the delta between my system for procedural gen and a AAA system for procedural gen? And that's basically what I do. I've been working little bits on this, and I have built a hydrology system and a what do you call it, geology system, and so I'm actually modeling a real world basically as I build out my environments, as I build out my biomes, etc. So that's how I'm doing it. I think I'm not an experienced game developer by any means. I'm just an engineer who loves Claude, and I want to make the best game possible. But that's how I am using AI to build my game.